Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, that's right. Good Saturday morning. Welcome to another edition of Florida Talk Real Estate. We got you for 2 hours of infotainment. Thanks for being there. 92.1, 101.7. Excellent to have you on board. Maybe you're using the free download, the iHeartRadio app. Worldwide we are. If you're on there, you could be anywhere on the planet. That's amazing if you are. Thank you for being there. And of course, we live stream as well on a Saturday. You can find us on Facebook. That's Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. On YouTube as well, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. We live stream on both. Of course, all kinds of content to consume on both. And thank you for being there. You can be a part of the program as well. 877-927-6969. If you got questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate, you want to dive into the conversation at hand, don't be shy. The first voice you'll hear, the melodious tones of our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy, my brother from another mother. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Good morning, Mr. C. How are you today?
I'm so good, my man. It's nice to see you as always.
Good to see you as well.
And it's always good to have a phenomenal team assembled on a Saturday morning. Of course, I'm your buddy, your pal, Johnny C., your air traffic control. Let's say good morning to this amazing team on a Saturday. Ross Marinetz is with us. He's with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. Ross, how are you?
I am doing well. Good to see everybody, especially Garrett. I haven't seen him in forever.
I know, right?
I just teased.
You totally let it out of the bag.
I bet.
You have a sun between me and your face, so.
Yeah, I know. I can't see you.
Hi.
But it looks bright over there.
It is very bright looking your way, yes. But always great to be in your presence, my friend. And you did let the cat out of the bag. I feel like it's been about 10 years since we've said good morning to Jared Perry. That's a Perry CPA group. It feels that way. You walked in, you're like, man, you've lost weight. I'm like, dude, I might have gained 2 pounds since you seen me last.
It's been a minute, but you look good either way.
So what are we stacking here? We got Perry CPA and group. What else are we working on?
We still have Coastal, the investment firm. We still have Renegade, the sports agency. So we're keeping it going.
And now I know why it feels like I haven't seen you in about 10 years, because you probably rest, I don't know, an hour or two a day. And you have a family.
The donut shop. Don't forget that.
and a family. And he likes to fish.
Well, he does have the IV thing.
And a few side hustles. Yeah. Right. And he does mixed martial arts. And I mean,
come on.
We'll just go on and on, I suppose.
I'm trying to get a dinner out of this or something.
No, you were trying to get in my pants earlier. So. Good to see you as always, Mike.
Always great to see you guys. I'm excited to be here.
I'm sure we got lots to talk about. And of course, it's always a pleasure to say good morning to our fearless leader. It is 13 plus years now I've said good morning and told you that he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team and my guy, Jimmy D. There's Jim DePola. How you be?
Hey, good morning, everybody, and happy South Florida. I'm so happy to have Jared in the studio. It's always really a big pleasure on that. Today, we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. We're going to be talking, since we got the accountant here, we got to start talking some numbers, right? And like what's really happening in the real estate market in real life when you're trying to buy or sell.
I bet that's exactly what he wants to do on a Saturday morning.
Exactly.
It gets me excited.
Let's just talk numbers.
Hey, it's kind of like me talking about real estate, right? You're like, it's a passion, right?
Well, I know what he doesn't want to talk about Florida State. So let's get into numbers.
Low blow.
And Ross is here too. They're going to gang up on you.
Yeah,
I can't even say anything.
There's nothing we've got nothing to stand on.
Nothing.
And
literally nothing.
We're also going to be anybody that's self-employed or owns their own business. We're going to have a unique opportunity to talk about what to do when you're self-employed or own your own business and you think that you're going to buy a house, because there's some unique issues that they have to deal with specifically. And we know there's a lot of people out there that are either self-employed or own their own business. So we're going to talk a little bit about that on home insurance front, because home insurance has been a news topic forever now. We're going to talk about two things. One thing is, and I called up Ross to ask this question a couple of days ago, and I figured the public should hear it too. Can you insure a 2004 composite shingle roof in 2025, right?
21-year-old?
Yeah, 21-year-old single dimensional asphalt roof.
If anybody
and
could,
find
Ross
out.
could.
Well, Ross isn't going to do anything that isn't supposed to be done to regulations.
No, of course, but if you can find somebody.
But well, that's what we're going to get into
Yeah.
and find out about that. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is in Central Florida, something like 25% of the people that are getting that are closing on deals up there, which I guess is cash, are deciding not to insure their home at all.
Oh,
So they're going naked as far as insurance going uncovered.
Self-insuring.
Self-insuring.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And of course, one of the things I want to talk about is creepy critters. I found a new Florida creepy critter that's coming.
Awesome.
You know, I love talking about all those things.
Oh, it's on its way.
Oh, and then, yeah, it's starting to get pretty established now. But one of the things that was funny is I had a dream the night I read about the creepy critter that I ate a sandwich, and in the sandwich was a live creepy critter, and I ate it, and I could feel it in my mouth and everything. And I woke up in a nightmare on the creepy critter, and I thought that was funny.
That is funny.
We got to do that. And
we should dissect that dream.
Yeah.
Get the dreamer dictionary out.
Sorry, let me shut off my phone. People might be hearing.
What could that possibly mean?
What does that mean?
What could that mean?
Yeah, I love it.
Hold on here. And let's start out with a couple of shout outs though before we get into all that. I wanted to do a shout out to Greg and Diane. Every time I say Greg and Diane, I think of the John Mellencamp.
I do too.
Do you?
Yeah. I brought it up one time.
What was
during one shout out?
Who was it? Who and Diane? Jack and Diane, right?
Yeah.
So why Greg? Why do when I say Greg and Diane, I think of that song?
Because it just takes you right there. I'm on the same link.
Well, they're doing something that's very interesting, and this is going to come back later to Jarrett later on. But they, longtime listeners of the show, well, at least Greg is, right? Diane is listens now only because now she's thinking of selling her house.
Hey, we got her though.
But yeah, and they're a great couple, and they got an awesome home in Coral Springs. I can't wait to put this on the market. It's such a cool house. I'm not going to get into all the details right now, but just really cool neighborhood, really cool house, and it was built in like 90. Oh, I went to so many houses. Anyway, it was built around the time I was growing up down in that area. I grew up in Sunrise, and really cool house, very upgraded. Really looking forward to sell that. And what they're doing is they're at retirement age basically, so they're going to be selling the house and then going to buy a new home, probably somewhere in South Florida and Southern Palm Beach County, maybe Northern Palm Beach County. Kind of where they are now.
Yeah.
But they're going to downsize. And the way they're trying to do it is sell the house, take the equity from the house, and buy a new house outright. So I'm really happy to help them. I think it's going to be doable. We went over everything with them yesterday. It was like a 2.5-hour meeting because there was a lot of moving parts. But by the time we were done, we knew what we could sell the house for in a timely manner without going too low, because timing isn't their issue. We found out whether or not what they could buy from the sale of that home, could they find something that would get them excited to move? And we found tons of stuff for them, and probably at a lower budget that they may need. And then we had to go the whole situation of the seller buyer, because they have to sell their house, get the proceeds from the house to buy the new home. And that can be very tricky. So we went over all that. So thank you for trusting me with the transaction. I'm going back out there Monday, getting everything taken care of that.
Excellent.
I want to do a shout out to Chris Peterson. I usually don't use last names, but Chris Peterson is becoming a realtor. So we got to get his name out there, right? Because Chris is going to be a realtor. So we don't want him to become what we call the secret agent, where you never hear from the agent. Oh, you don't even know they're a real estate agent. Chris has done either, I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 deals with me. Not even sure how he met us. Maybe from the radio show, maybe not. I don't even remember. But I remember selling his house down in southern Broward County, and then helped him buy up in Palm Beach Gardens. Really great guy, professional. Got a great gal that I met a bunch of times. She's interested in real estate. I think she owns several other properties. They're just very familiar with real estate. So he's decided that he's going to do this part-time and then maybe eventually come over full-time. And he wants to join my team. So he'll be on our team for a while. But what I really want to do with Chris is groom him so that he can form his own team and start his own thing by himself.
Beautiful.
So all
That's
I'm going to be, I'm going to be coaching him and getting him through the beginning. He's so sharp. He's going to be a great
he seems
great
like he has
person.
his stuff together for sure. I spoke to him the other day.
Yeah, and I saw that he already formed an LLC. He's so organized, right? Unlike me, right? So he already signed up his LLC. Most agents don't even think about doing that.
Yeah, he seems to be super educated on all of it. I spoke to him about it. He seems like he's not a brand new into it for sure.
Yeah, and I said, you got to talk to Jared. I don't know if you set up that LLC, right? That's why Jared knows. So he's over with Jared. So I'm really excited about Chris's career. So once in a while, you're probably, if you're working with me, you're going to hear Chris's name pop up, or he might come to the house. He might be going to a listing appointment with me on Monday just to watch how I go out and do that. So thank you so much.
Excellent.
I feel like there's another shout out. Oh, well, I guess I'm going to talk about this just real quick, just for a teachable moment. So we had a house that we were supposed to be putting on the market. Putting under contract, because the buyer's agent said they were turning in an offer. We negotiated back and forth, came to a term where both sides verbally agreed. So now we got to get it in writing. I had a feeling that I looked at the agent's record, and they've only done a total of 3 transactions their whole career.
Wow.
So that got me really nervous, because everything was slow. It took them like 10 days to turn in the offer from the time they said they were going to turn it in. And it was starting to raise red flags. But then we started negotiating. Everything was going through. But now it's been like 4 days since we've agreed to the terms of the contract, and they have not signed it yet. And it died last night. The negotiations died at midnight last night. And the teachable moment here is, I don't want to mention the house or the names of anybody, but the person that's selling the house is going to be using that proceeds to buy a new home. And they are not going to be using me for the buy side, because they're buying a specialty type of thing, and it's better that they use a different type of agent. But I called them up yesterday and said, I'm getting shaky on this deal. I don't know if it's going to go through. Tell your other agent, do not put yourself in contract where you're liable for the deposit, because the deal might not go through. Now, this deal still might go through. Sure. It's still up in the air, but we have, luckily, knock on wood and thank God, we've got 3 or 4 showings coming up in the next 2 days. So hopefully we'll get a buyer out of that. And then they're going to have to compete, because now we're not in contract with them. So I hope I get another buyer.
Well, I hope that agent and those potential buyers know that they're currently, maybe they were out of town.
I called them at 6:30 last night. Yeah. And I talked to the agent, and I said, look, it dies at midnight. I have other people coming. Somebody might be making an offer. That's not a lie. I told them that your offer was coming in, so they delayed making their offer, even though I asked them to do that. So now I'm going to call them. I said, after this phone call with you, I'm going to have to call them and say, hey, if you want to turn in that offer, turn it in. So we're working really hard to make this deal done, but just until it's in writing and it's executed contract, you don't have a deal. In Florida, just a lot of people don't know this, handshake doesn't count. Handshake does not count in Florida. And a verbal offer over the deal, hey, blah, 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 like you and me, Jared, if we're negotiating something.
I thought a verbal contract.
Nope, not in Florida. If it isn't in writing, executed by both parties, it does not count. So in real estate, I don't know about regular business transactions, right. But in real estate, if it's not in writing, both sides signed it in writing. One side signs it, the other one said they're going to sign it, not an executed contract.
Might be. There's so many variables in the contract. It'd be hard to just with a verbal hit on all those items.
Yes.
Yeah. So just remember, be careful out there. It's still not a super strong market. It's a good market, but it's not super strong, and you have to be very careful, and don't just make assumptions on things. Make sure you got it tied up nice and tidy with a bow on it before you move forward. I was reading an article yesterday. I was like, the good old days. I was reading this story in the Palm Beach Post where they I'm sorry, because it was really funny, and I remember this reminds me on the show when we were doing the show in 2012, 2013, 2014. Apparently at one of the stadiums, one of the school I just lost the article. One of the school stadiums here in Palm Beach County, their scoreboard was torn down or destroyed, and nobody could figure out what was going on. But apparently this happened a couple other places. They're stealing the copper wire from the scoreboards. From
Again?
from the scoreboards.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. And that reminded me, remember, Johnny, when we started the show, how many times did we get calls from people from the show live saying, somebody came over and stole all the copper out of my AC. Remember that? They used to steal the copper from the AC all the time.
Wild time.
Right?
Is there that much copper in an AC? I mean,
everybody was broke back then. So I found out costs. I'm going to tell you in a second. I did a little research on the cost that you get for scrap metal.
Catalytic converters.
I know, right? Which I got.
We are devolving in so many ways.
Which my 1997 Toyota lost its catalytic converter parked in the Remax parking lot when I was working at Remax.
Oh yeah, nice.
I came outside. I turned on my engine and it sounded completely different. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm looking in the engine and nothing. And then I look underneath and I see
nothing.
I see nothing, right?
I wouldn't even know what to look for.
Yeah, it was funny.
Catalytic
apparently you can
combobulator.
I think apparently you can make like over $1,000 for the metals from the catalytic converter. But anyway, so they're stealing copper wire again. I'm like, oh, is this the sign of Armageddon? Like we went through that last crash, where everybody was stealing copper from houses. Remember, if a house was vacant, they'd go in there and open up the walls and take all the copper out of the house.
Isn't there gold in a lot of the electronics, I think?
I hear that. Yeah, you hear it, right?
Why not take the gold?
I know, it's right. And so I found out costs since Jarrett, Mr. Accountant's here, and he's like, I wonder what you can get for that. So dirty copper, I don't know the difference, but dirty copper is $4 a pound. And clean copper is $5 a pound. So that's what you get. So
dirty is like wire and it still has the plastic coating on it. Like that's one example.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to strip
copper.
it. Yeah, you got to strip it and get it down to the core copper.
I guess there's pounds of it.
Yeah.
Each of the units.
Well, or you do a lot and you get pounds.
Sure. It doesn't feel like it adds up quickly.
It doesn't feel like it adds up.
So I hope the copper thieves aren't back for good, because that was really bad, man. I remember when I was flipping houses, we would have to put cages over the AC unit on the outside and like anchor it into the ground, so that if they wanted to take the copper, they were really going to have to do a lot of effort.
Isn't it easier to like drive around at 3 a.m. on trash night and just take everybody's aluminum recycling?
Seems like
ahead of time.
I know.
Way easier.
I know.
I used to get mad at that when somebody would do that in the middle of it, and I was like, you know what? It's still being recycled.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't care.
Yeah.
It is. It's pretty wild.
Just the fact they're taking it, even though it's kind of yours still.
It was, it didn't settle totally well.
I wanted to, wait a second. I'm not sure. But I think the monthly report came out yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what happened, because right now the monthly reports for the year, our appreciation for Palm Beach County and pretty much all of South Florida was flat as a pancake, right? So it'd be interesting to see if we, like the last month, if it went up like by 10% or 5% or something.
10%.
Yeah, 5%.
Wouldn't that be a hell of a month, huh?
It could go up 5% though, like from month to month, because
to affect the year,
right? So, no, if the year average, that 1 month isn't going to affect it, right? But we started 2024 $600,000 median sales price for Palm Beach County. This is pretty similar to Miami and Dade. Now, St. Lucie, it was more like 385 for St. Lucie County. They ended up at like 410 in November for St. Lucie. But we started out at 600 in Palm Beach County, got all the way up to 660 in June, and then it went down to 600 in November. So it'll be interesting to see if this report kind of kept that trend, because we've been going down for effectively 5 months in a row. Wow. So we'll see if there's been if December was any different than November and September. It'll be kind of interesting. So we're not going to get into that right this second, because I still got to do the research on it. But I thought it would be interesting to talk about a property that we have in Port St. Lucie. The owner came to us. We talked a little bit about this last week, but the owner came to us last week. In November, saying that they got a job in Orlando and they had to leave their Port St. Lucie home and move to Orlando. He's a very big family man. He's got a beautiful family, and he doesn't want to be away from them very long at all. And so he's like, Jim, you got to sell my house fast. But the problem is, this isn't necessarily a fast market. If you're trying to get top end market value for your house, if it's very easy to miss the number, and then you're just sitting there crick and chirpits. What is
Crick
that?
and chirpits. Yeah.
Cricket, yeah, cricket. What did I say? I don't even know how to say it the wrong
We're
way.
with you. I think we're all understanding.
Crickets chirping. Yeah, crickets chirping.
Yeah.
Chirping. What did I just say?
Quick and
Crickets,
chirping.
chirping.
Yeah, chirping. Yes, I'm not having a stroke live on air. I promise.
I hope.
9:20. I think I got to get that.
Yeah. We had to be very careful on pricing. So as I was driving there to take the listing, there were 3 Keller Williams signs on the same road that I was going to go pick up the listing. 3 different Keller Williams brokerages, and I was like, "Uh-oh, I'm not liking this too much." And then when I got into the driveway, of course, one of the listings was right to the right of me. The other listing was across the street, and the third listing was like 10 houses away. They all looked about the same. One was a 2021 house. The other 2 were our age, but one had a pool, one didn't have a pool. So the range of those 3 houses was $399, $389, and $695. The $695 was the 2021 house. So those people were on crack because I hate to say it that way, but they think their house is
Pretty strong statement.
Yeah, they're thinking their house
I think
is.
you just to say drugs. You don't know if it's crack. You don't know if it's very-
Sorry, was I being too harsh there?
Pretty strong.
I don't know what you saw over there.
They picked that price with the hypodermic needle in their arm.
Jeez.
All right.
Well done, JoJo Dancer.
So yeah, you started it. Now I'm gonna go. But the problem is that I know what they're thinking is they're thinking that because their house is 20, 25 years newer than all the other houses, it's worth more and the insurance is less and a couple of things, but it isn't that much difference. I don't think it'll appraise at that number. So the 3 houses have all been on the market over 100 days, and all of them have had a minimum of 2 price drops. So this is where they are after the price drop: $695, $399, $399, $389.
And isn't this the? And I'm sorry to interrupt, but is this the same house where, like last week or 2 weeks ago, you were talking about having like a bunch of showings, and the neighbors are all like looking because they're not having any showings, and they're like, "What the hell is happening over here?" And of course, their realtor's probably like, "Oh, it's because they're lowballing the neighborhood."
Yeah,
blah blah blah.
So I
They'll
want
never sell that.
So I want to talk about that because we put it at a price that was $385. Okay. Now the other house was $389, and the other one was $399.
You're right in the.
So we were right
the
within
zone.
3 percentage points, 3.5 percentage points variance of where they were. So this wasn't crazy because the original list price to sold price right now is 6% below.
And
So-
you've already talked about some price reductions.
Right. And
Right.
they've already gone through
Yeah.
the pain to get to where they are now. So
100 days.
I knew that if we put it up at those numbers they started at, we'd go through that pain too.
Right.
So they already did the pain for us. That's the way I look at
Sure
it. They
did.
already did that pain.
You learn from their pain.
Right, exactly. So we put it at that house. We got it under contract in 12 days. It was really like 8 days, but it took us 4 days to go back and forth on the deal. The important part of that is all those other houses are still for sale. It's been about 2 weeks since we went under contract. Those houses are still for sale. They haven't had a price drop yet. They're going to be really upset when they see what we closed at. We're closing at list or higher. We're going to see when the smoke clears. But and it's well within the range. We weren't lowball because those 399 and 389, neither of those had a brand new roof. We do. We have a pool. One didn't have a pool. One did have a pool. So we did what we needed to do to get the job done fast and at the prices that we're selling at that moment. And that's what you have to do in this market. This was an anatomy of how to make a quick sale without going too low. Now, if we did what they did and we put our house on the market at 405 or 415, we would have went through the same pain that the other families did because they already started at those prices and couldn't sell their house, weren't getting the action that they wanted, so they dropped the price to get the action. My people wanted to sell fast, so I had to put it at a price to get the action then. If we kept the house on the market longer, we might have actually had a real bidding war on it, but we took the money and ran because it was on a Zoom road. That's the other thing that the people didn't really take into consideration, in my opinion. Their pricing was good for the neighborhood as far as what's selling, but we were on a road where as we described last week, Johnny, for anybody who didn't hear it last week, it's one of those roads where it was kind of like Jimmy, the road that you lived on,
Sure,
right?
yeah,
So
Eroso.
on Eroso,
Mhm.
right? So you pull into Jimmy's driveway, and it might take you 5 minutes to back out because
It
the
might.
traffic's so fast.
And
Sure.
if you can, back in.
Yeah,
That'd be great. Yes.
exactly. Back in every single
Yes,
time if you can.
Yes.
So I don't, that's can become some people that's a deal breaker, right? Some people, just like a pool, could be a deal breaker, right? I call it the zoom road. I'm having a hard time talking today. Zoom road phenomenon, right? So sometimes it zoom road could be it's too busy in front of you, or it could be just too noisy, right? You're near the turnpike or 95, and your windows are shut and everything, and all you
Still
hear
hear it.
is you
Yeah.
still hear it. So I call those the zoom roads. So if you're thinking about, if you have not been able to sell your house is going to expire to cancel. There's a lot out there, and you want a second opinion on how maybe to get the right price in the right amount of time without going through a lot of pain. Again, give me a call. I specialize in selling houses that didn't sell the first time. I'll sit down and talk with you. If I feel like you're unrealistic about the price, I will tell you that I don't think I'm going to be your realtor because I can't do what you're asking me to do. And I'm not going to take something that I don't think I can perform on.
Right.
So we're going to be real. Now that isn't a mean thing to say. I'm not saying it cocky. I'm saying if we can't see eye to eye, I'm not the person that you need. You need to find somebody that has the same point of view as you.
Exactly. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. You got access to the entire team at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Your one-stop real estate shop. There's also a hotline. You can call it if you'd like. 888-973-7828. And you'll find it at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Let's go ahead and take a break. And on the flip side, I want Ross to talk to me about whether a 2004 shingle roof can pass the muster to get insurance in today's market here in Florida. We're going to start off with that, and then maybe we'll get to the creepy critter next. I'm not sure.
All right, excellent. We still got a ton to get into, and of course, you're always welcome. 877-927-6969. Quick 4-minute break. We'll get to your phone calls if you're there waiting. Otherwise, thanks for being with us. Always remember Facebook, YouTube, lots of resource there for you. Florida Talk Real Estate on both, and of course, we live stream on a Saturday. But most importantly, share that information. Like FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. You can change lives, including your own, with the pros at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back in 4 minutes. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
We're everywhere you need to be. Find your favorite show at RealRadio921.com. Here's the latest with weather on Real Radio.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Thanks to that warm front that moved through yesterday, we are seeing much warmer conditions to start off your Saturday. We did see lots of showers yesterday, but today the showers are going to be much more isolated in nature, and we will see plenty of bouts of sunshine throughout the day. Partly cloudy skies expected.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Tap into your well-being with Audible audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. Expand your life with expert insight and motivation for better health, habits, relationships, finance, and more. Start listening free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
You're listening to Real Radio 92.1, and we are an iHeart radio station. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, that's toll free, 877-927-6969. We are live on this Saturday. It's the 18th, I believe, please.
Yes.
That'd be correct. Yep.
Man, I was really hopeful.
What month?
January still.
Yep.
2024.
Right.
Happy New Year.
Good job.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Yes, live. And you are always welcome with that toll-free number to jump into the conversation at hand. If you have a question, comment, concern, don't be shy. Of course, if you are more on the shy side, remember Florida Talk Real Estate is .com. You can reach out, talk to the team in private. Pros. You get them all at floridatalkrealestate.com. Remember, we're on Facebook and YouTube as well. Live streaming on a Saturday. Thanks for being with us. Jimothy's our producer extraordinaire.
Hello, and good morning.
Good morning to you. I'm Johnny C, here at Traffic Control. Jared Perry's with us.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, Perry.
Happy to be here.
Perry CPA and Group.
That's right.
Man, the list goes on and on, truthfully, but it is great to have you with us on a Saturday, my friend.
Always great to be here.
Ross Camaronets on a Saturday, one of our staples. Beautiful to see him on a Saturday. He's with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. How you doing, Ross?
Doing amazing.
I love that.
Good to be here.
Great to see you. And of course, Jimmy D, our fearless leader. I've told you for 13 plus years now, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations. You find the Florida Home Pros team. Jimmy D, Jim DePola, how you be?
Hey, Johnny. Welcome to South Florida, everybody. Happy South Florida. The weather was kind of little sloppy on the way down here today, but it was still nice. I still enjoyed it.
For some reason, it's been rough on the weekends. Like it's beautiful during the week, and then it's super windy and overcast.
It is. But I'm enjoying this weather. I think it's supposed to rain a little bit all weekend. Is that true?
Well, we got Arctic blast after Arctic blast coming now.
Really?
There's like two of them heading our way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that.
A lot of there's going to be big chunks of the country that are going to potentially get some record lows. And it's going to push down into Florida, too.
Oh, that'll be cool. I'm no pun intended. I like cold once in a while. I wouldn't want to live in the cold up there. I feel bad for everybody.
I'm over it. I'm so over it.
You like the heat. Just the heat.
I moved to Florida. I didn't like grow up here and not leave.
That's true.
I moved here.
That's true.
And as I used to always say to people bitching about the heat, it's like, did you ever visit here before you moved here? Or did you just pick a spot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like heat. That's why I moved here.
So, Ross, from Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, I was doing a comp on a property recently, and I noticed that the roof was a composite shingle roof, single dimensional. They said, and they made a big deal about it in the listing. They put it like they proudly put the roof age in the listing. And what they did is they had this certification from a roofer that wrote out that they inspected the roof and that they felt that the roof had, I don't want to say the exact amount of years, but they had a number in there because I don't remember it, so I don't want to be inaccurate. But many, many years left on this 2004 single dimensional composite roof. And I was just wondering, is that possibly an insurable roof? Because they were saying, don't worry about the roof of this age. It's totally fine. Don't look behind the curtain. So first of all, can a 2004 composite shingle roof be insured in Florida?
Possibly.
Okay. So what would make it insurable? Because it just, most of those roofs have a 20 to 25 year life anyway.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like
the guy who's
warranty.
going to sell you the roof is going to tell you it's good for 30,
Right.
know, 30 or 40.
Right.
But typically the most an insurance company is going to give you on a shingle roof is 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't really, that's the way it used to be before they got really tight on roof age. That's pretty much what you got for a shingle roof. So 20 is going to be the max, but Citizens will accept it as long as it has at least 5 years of useful life left. So I'm not a roofer. If you show me a report that says it has 5 years of useful life left, I will tell you, yes, I can get you insurance. Now I can bind you a policy and be in compliance on my side, be in compliance for everything for Citizens. And then Citizens could go out there and look at the roof and go, no.
So
there's only like 1 year of life left. So, and then at that point they would either cancel you or require you to.
And aren't they the only one? If they're the only ones writing the policy, it's going to be more expensive, probably, right?
Like, Citizens is the most competitive at 99% of the time right now.
Yeah,
I've written way more Citizens policies in the last 5 years than any other carrier.
Yeah, Jared,
I'm just thinking of what happened. Yeah, I don't know. There was only one carrier left. I guess it wasn't Citizens with mine. So,
well, you were in when you were dealing with this, Jared. That was a few years, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Right. We were at the height of the crisis at that point,
and your dwelling coverage precludes you from getting Citizens.
Oh, okay.
Your dwelling coverage is too high for Citizens.
Got it.
So you can't even.
Yeah, you can. That's probably part of it. Yeah, that's probably why you got stung so bad. So, what you just mentioned now, after we bind the policy, whether Citizens representatives are going to come out and say, no way, Jose, I don't think there's much life left. That brought me to the next question. When I got like a little obsessed about this 2004 being confidently advertised that there's not going to have a problem with insurance. So then I looked at the roof on the map, like on the drone video, and I noticed that there were at least 3 patches on the roof, right? So one of the patches was around the riser for the electrical, for the electrical pipe. I forget what they call that riser, but to get your main power into the house. And I guess when they replaced that riser, they had to replace the stuff around it. But then I noticed that 1/4, it's a hip roof. It's only like 1,500 square feet, let's say. Okay. So it's a square box, 1,500 square feet. It's got a hip roof. 1/2 of the roof, 1/4 of the roof looked different color and not different materials, still single dimensional, but it looked a different color than everything else. I talked to the agent that's representing the house, and they said, oh yeah, that whole from the peak of the hip roof down to about half of the back side of the house, all of that was stripped out and replaced at some point. But don't worry about it. It's even better. It even has more useful life than the rest of the roof because we didn't take the old roof off of there. We just put the new roof on top of the shingle over shingle. Right. And I've always been told.
They put shingle over shingle. They didn't take it off. They just
just took it off. Right. So they're saying, don't even worry about it because there's 2 layers of roofing on that part. Right. And I've always been told by roofers, I don't know if this is true or not, that when you put shingle over shingle, you lose 1/3 of the life of the new shingle. I think it gets too hot from the shingle underneath and it damages the granulation over time and it can make it easier to shrink. Have you ever heard anything? And I know you're an agent and you're not a construction guy or anything,
Not a
but have
roofer.
you ever heard about shingle over shingle issues or anything like that?
I know that there are some carriers do have a question in their eligibility about, are there more than 2 layers of shingles?
Oh, that's right. I think I've seen that
On some carriers have that.
Yeah.
So,
Now, my other
or it
question
might
though
be more
is
than one.
the reason why I'm bringing up about me looking at that roof and seeing the patches and everything just on their listing. We had a roof. I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was last year or late the year in 2023, where we had a couple buying a house in Wellington, and the roof was very old, and the sellers were willing to give us a partial credit, but they didn't want to put the roof on and give us a full credit. So we went back and forth, back and forth. You were heavily involved in this, and then finally we figured out a way to get the insurance policy that worked for everybody. But then it was either the insurer or the lender looked at the listing, looked at the roof, saw there were so many patches, and it was a big house. It was like 3,500 square feet. And they saw so many patches on the barrel tile roof that they said, we're not insuring it unless the roof's replaced.
The lender or the insurance?
I don't
Because
remember which it
typically,
was. I don't remember which it was.
because the insurance company,
Mhm.
unless it's for some reason you have to submit it for approval, the insurance companies, they don't look at the risk, the house, whatever you want to call it, until probably 3 or 4 days after the policy's been bound.
Oh, well, that's kind of what happened in this one. We thought we were okay, and
Well, I
about
mean-
5 days later, we found out we couldn't do the deal that way. We had to restructure it.
So, but
So
what I'm
maybe-
saying, what I'm saying is, like, I bind a policy for you, and today or whatever,
Mhm.
Wednesday, the underwriters might look at it next week and begin the underwriting process, send an inspector out, then the inspector goes out, and then it has to come back, and then if there's any issues, then they have to give you the appropriate notice in the amount of time. So if it was pre-closing,
I think it was the lender then.
yeah, I
I'm
was going to
pretty
say
sure
if it was
the lender.
unless we came back and said, hey, we had to submit it to the underwriter, and the underwriter said they're not willing to insure it, but it would have been that scenario versus after it was bound 2 days later, they said no.
So this brings me to a different question, just for people. I think it's kind of interesting. How many times do the people, like once you get a policy, do they always come out to inspect the house?
Every time.
Every single time,
Every
no
time.
matter what company it is?
Mhm.
Was that always the case? Like when we started 12 years ago, did
No.
that always happen?
No.
I didn't think so. It was almost like spot checking.
Yeah. Every once in a while they do an inspection, and most of them would be just kind of drive-bys, make
Mhm.
sure that, there's not boards in the windows and junk cars in the front yard, stuff like that, make sure it was in good shape. But, over the last 5 years with, hey, we've got a claim for everything, we're going to sue you, the insurance companies are coming out and making sure that the house that they're insuring at this very moment doesn't have anything that, that it is in good shape, and there's nothing in there that could possibly lead to a claim.
That's interesting because that's kind of like a trend that we saw during the show. Because I was thinking about that a couple of days ago. How many times did these people really go out to look at the house that's being insured? Because when we started the show, it was very rare that they would do it, right? At least as far as we knew, maybe they were doing drive-bys. We had
It'd
no
be
idea.
drive-by. Yeah, I mean, it'd be every once in a while they would schedule to come out, but for the most part, the carriers just relied on that 4-point inspection and just drive-bys, make sure the house looks okay.
And now they're on the roof. They're in the electric panel. They're under the sinks. They're
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Apparently they don't trust the inspectors.
Now, one last thing I just want to say about this: the roofing certification that they got from the roofer that they uploaded with the in the document section for the listing. That roofing certification isn't really going to hold any water in real life, because what's going to happen is the buyer, when the buyer comes, whoever the buyer is, because this house was just for sale, but when the buyer comes, they're going to have to do what's called and the age of the house is over 30 years. So they're going to have to do a 4-point inspection. And that's not going to be done by the person that certified the roof that they paid for. It's going to be an independent kind of person the buyer selected. and they're going to make their own independent, and that's the report that's going to be sent to the insurance company and to the lender. So just because you get somebody that says your roof is okay, as the seller, if you pay somebody extra, you can't rely on that. That is just to give you an idea of where you're probably going to land. And I do this all the time. If I feel like the roof is too old and it's right on the edge, I ask them, please do the certification now just for the roof for useful life, just to see what we're up against.
If you're going to do that in that scenario, just do a whole 4-point inspection.
Why would you? Let's say that you had a 28-year-old barrel tile roof, but the electrical panels like modern, and it's got at least panel hurricane shutters everywhere. Why would you do the 4-point anyway? Because
can you see behind the panel? Did you go up in the attic? Maybe there's some loose wiring. I mean, so you're having somebody, you're going to pay somebody $75 to $100 to do a roof certification.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pay the extra $25, $50, have them do the whole 4-point. Hey, maybe there's an issue in your house that would make it uninsurable.
Mm-hmm.
So for the extra $25, $50, hey, let's make sure it's insurable before you even put it on the market. Because then it could come back where, hey, we opened up, the electrical panel looks great. It's a GE, but we pulled the panel off and looked behind it. We got double taps in there. We crawled around in the attic and there's some loose wiring up there. Hey, we were looking in the plumbing section and you've got PEX plumbing. That could be an issue. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. We've got carriers that accept it, but there could be additional issues in there. So you're having somebody come out, look at the roof, have them look at the whole house. That way you can make sure it's insurable.
Speaking of PEX plumbing and insurability, you're talking about polybutylene or PEX?
PEX.
Okay, so
poly is pretty much a no-go.
Yeah, polybutylene, not going to be insured. Got to rip it out, put it back, right? But with PEX, I hear people putting in PEX today.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't get. So explain what PEX is if you can.
It's like a plasticky
water supply line.
Yeah, water supply lines. And they're easier to just kind of throw in and run through the walls or run through the attic. You don't need the copper and everything like that. But because of their plastic, so plastic wears down a little bit, I guess, and they have a tendency to pop or they get hot and things like that. The connections and things. So
that's the issue, right? It's the connections, I think.
That was
right?
polybutylene for sure. Right. Poly was that problem.
Okay.
PEX
but I think it's just because it's that plasticky, more flimsy. I don't know. The insurance companies, they don't like once it. one company doesn't like it, they pretty much all don't like it.
So why would they keep putting it in?
Well, because a lot of most carriers, if there is PEX plumbing, they want it to be installed after 2009.
Yeah,
I don't know why that's the date, but that's 2009. So I got a house that I'm doing up in, I think, Merritt Island. It's like $1.2 million of dwelling coverage. 4-point looks great, but they did some renovations, and when they did the renovations, they had PEX. So I had to find the permit in the Brevard County and showed the insurance company that, hey, yes, this 4-point says it has PEX plumbing, but here's my permit from 2022 showing when it was installed and they approved.
And then that's okay. So I never really knew about the PEX issue. I only knew about polybutylene until you had mentioned it. That's the one thing I love about this show. Ross, we got 3 people that called me last week asking information about you have an issue with your house. You call up the insurance company for a claim or a question about a claim, and you said that's going to count. It's going to be marked on your record, like a demerit on your record.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everybody, even if you don't file the claim, just asking about the claim is a demerit on your property.
Yeah, because you've just reported damage.
Yeah.
Right? You've just reported damage.
Hey, guess what? That thing you're insuring just got screwed up, but I'm not going to do anything. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, car drove through my house, but I just want to let you know, I'm not going to worry about it. Don't worry about it.
We'll worry about it later.
Real life example, Johnny C. So, we got a lot of calls on that, Russ, a lot of emails and stuff. Is that really true? I'm like, yeah, we've talked about that before on the show. So just be careful. So the tip on that is, just in case anybody lost it last week, you'd always catch the show.
Call Ross.
call Ross, but you can also catch the show, Florida Talk Real Estate, YouTube, Facebook, iHeart Media app for the reruns. But call your agent or call Ross first. It's like, hey, should I call my insurance company and tell them that the car drove through my house or not? And your answer was no, right? You think the car through your house? Through the yard. I know I'm exaggerating, but it's funnier.
Yeah.
It hit the house. But the answer was no, and you did get it resolved through the other side, and that probably would have been a much easier thing for him, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would have showed up. It would have been subrogation. But like I said, I had a client whose car got hit, whose house got hit multiple times by a vehicle, and their policy was non-renewed.
Yeah. I remember when I was a crime reporter one time where somebody was pulling into their garage, a really old person in Delray, and of course they hit the gas, not the brake, and they went right through the kitchenette, and the wife was having coffee or something in the kitchenette, and these are really old people, right? And I went there and I covered it, right? So I saw the people. Thank God nobody was hurt, but they were pretty shaken up. But that car, it pushed so far into that house, and she was sitting at the table on the other side where the car hit, and it pushed the table, but it didn't like knock it over, and she was right up against the kitchen cabinet.
And you know what? I promise you, he hears about that every day of his life. It comes up at least once
and
every day.
And he always
That's
argues.
supposed to mean.
You remember the time he almost killed me? It's fine.
And when people do that, when you're covering that as a crime reporter or whatever, they always say that something was wrong with the car, but they always they go back and check it. The cops,
it's never
they do the tech. It's always they hit the wrong pedal.
Yeah.
You had a 50-50 chance. You hit the wrong pedal. Just live with it.
Just go drive around Palm Beach County for 10 minutes and you tell me, you think it was the car's fault or the driver's fault?
I know, it's
That's what
funny.
I thought.
It's funny. So I'm going to start off with this, Jarrett, and then when we come on the flip side, we're going to talk more about this subject.
Okay. Yep.
When I met with Greg and Diane, I always don't want to say Jack, right?
Mhm.
When I met with Greg and Diane, their goal was to sell a house that they've owned since 2012, basically, sell the house, downsize, and take the equity from their home, and then buy a new home where they don't have any mortgage payment anymore, right? Because they're seniors and they're retiring. I almost hate calling them seniors because they're my age. Makes me feel bad about myself. But
Are you officially can you get senior discount?
Oh yeah. When I was married, Natalie signed me up for ARP. I was so mad because I won't do it.
You can get AARP at a 20. If you're just not getting all the benefits.
She did it when I turned 50 or something or whatever.
Yeah, so I think it's once you're over 50, you get all the benefits.
Oh, yeah.
But you can sign up at 40, 30. You just don't get all the benefit.
Yeah. I was morally opposed when she did it. So she did it. That was kind
we
of
found
funny.
Jim's morals.
Yeah.
There they are.
It has to do with
I'd
AARP.
rather pay more than admit my age.
That's it. Yeah. That's funny.
So, but Greg and Diane, that's what they wanted to do. They want to sell their house and downsize and buy a brand new home and not have to pay principal and interest anymore for the rest of their lives. And they know they might have to pay an HOA fee, taxes, and insurance, but that will really help them out in their future for economically in their future. So you'd be surprised that a lot of people can do that in today's market. Now, people that have the ability to do that, they are kind of a little bit of a special breed compared to a lot of other people who would like to do the same thing, but need a mortgage, which we're going to talk about with Jarrett on the flip side.
Yep.
But before we do that, let's just kind of show how you calculate whether you can make that move or not and be mortgage free.
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing you do is you really got to understand what's going on in the neighborhood and price it correctly so that you're not over promising, so that because they're counting on that money to buy the new home. So if
you'd be taking your profit, and if you're whatever you're selling your house for, you're buying the new house for the same price, right? Mm-hmm. And you're taking the money you made and you're putting it down so you get into a similar mortgage.
No mortgage. These people are trying to be mortgage free. No, this one will be mortgage free. Yes. So these people are trying to be mortgage free. But the thing is, if you get a realtor that says, "Oh, I could sell your house for this amount," and you're counting on that to buy the new home,
it'll screw you up.
It can really screw you up
in either scenario.
Right. Exactly. Right. In the opposite way. So you really have to know your numbers really well on the front end. Then what you do is you calculate what's called a seller net sheet. Trident Title has a great app that we use that shows us within hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars, what you're going to net in your pocket if you sell it on this date at this number and your mortgage balance given to us is correct. We can tell you within hundreds of dollars what you're going to get back after real estate commissions, documentary stamp tax, everything else you got to pay. I can't call it junk fees because it's county taxes or whatever.
But
Taxes,
this is what
insurance.
In a way, I call it junk fees. but we all got to have support, government support. So the bottom line is, though, you have to do that. So you do the app, and then you figure out what you're going to net realistically, not on the optimum side. And then what you do is say, okay, tell me where you want to live and what kind of house you want to buy, and what are the features you have. And then we start hunting on the MLS to see what we could find. With them, we started off where they had, and we did a very fast search. They had over 100 choices in their price range. And then when we narrowed it, they still had 32 or 22. I think they had 22 choices when we really narrowed the field down to everything, not everything they wanted, but pretty much everything they wanted. And the price points were at like starting at high threes. They were planning on paying mid fives. So there's a lot of leeway. We could definitely make it work. So by the time it took us about 2.5 hours to go over all that. But once we got done, I was like, this is definitely doable, right? This is no issue about whether you financially can do what you want to do. It's just about finding the right house on the back end and getting your house sold. Do that every day. There's no problem with that. But then they're going to become the seller buyer.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes a little more complicated because you need to have somebody a buyer that's willing to wait for you to close on your house. And you have to have a seller that's willing to make sure that they're willing to wait for you to close on the sale of your house, right? So you got to make sure both sides are on call with that. But if you can do that, it's a pretty seamless process if you can make sure you can get all that. But you got to do the upfront work first. Most people are so confused as to where to start in that whole mess. I want to sell my house, but I know where I'm going to live. So I'm not going to put my house on the market. And if I go out and look for houses right now and I find one and I say, hey, I want to buy it, Mr. Seller, and the seller goes, great, when are you going to close? Oh, I don't even have my house on the market yet. And they move over. So it becomes that chicken and the egg. So don't let that.
Yeah, not all realtors can do that. We know you can do it. You did it for me. So
yeah, I've done it. I've done it for a lot of people.
Oh, sure.
I'm going to be doing it for Johnny eventually
One of
again,
these
right?
days,
Right.
yeah.
We're going to be doing it. But I did it for Jimothy too.
Wow.
And the thing is that there's a process to that. You also have to understand contracts really well because there's a couple extra forms for protection for you on both sides that you need to have. So if you're thinking of doing that, hey, I'd really love to sell my house and be mortgage free on the new purchase I get to start the next chapter of my life. All you got to do,
go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Well, that's the starting point that I would use personally. Why? Because, well, you get a team of pros. It's about having a team behind you when you're trying to get done what you're trying to get done, especially a delicate dance like being a seller buyer. But anything that touches the world of real estate, you got to go to somebody that's beyond competent. Expertise matters. And you may know people that work in these fields, but the sad reality is people we know and love just might not be very good at what they do. Once you go to a source of people that are phenomenal at what they do, go to the top first, the best of the best, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. On Facebook and YouTube as well, lots of resource for you to consume. But always remember the .com. When you need to buy a home, sell a home, you're stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, or anything that touches the world of real estate, lean on the pros at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back in 4 minutes. Great to have you with us every Saturday. It's Florida Talk Real Estate. We're right here on Real Radio.
We're everywhere you need to be. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rao from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rao will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rao, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, that's it. Toll free 877-927-6969. Those phone lines working in there, Jimothy?
They sure are. Yeah, we'll check one here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. All right.
Yep, they're working.
I just hate giving out numbers that ain't going to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, like the lotto numbers I play all the time.
Yeah, they don't work.
Those don't work.
They're going to work. They're going to work.
Oh, I'm not a quitter. I am not a quitter. 877-927-6969. We just verified those phone lines work pretty well, and you're welcome to be a part of the program. We got another hour remaining for you on this Saturday, the 18th of January. We are live. And just discussing with Jimothy, following us is going to be Panther pregame, right? And then
well, Panthers Insider
Panthers
show.
Insider, I should say.
Do have a game later on too at 5:30.
So Insider for an hour, and then the locker room is live on location at the Drive Shack.
I think so. Yep, for 2 hours.
Excellent. So we got you for another hour here, and you are welcome to be a part of it. Of course, if you're never comfortable on the radio, I totally understand. One day I may be. One day.
Yeah, you're getting there.
That's why I use floridatalkrealestate.com, because I don't like talking on the radio. You can reach out to the entire team at floridatalkrealestate.com, like Ross Camaronets with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. Right, Ross? I mean, I can get you at floridatalkrealestate.com, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, good. like Jared Perry with Perry CPA Group. I can reach out to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com and touch you, right?
Yeah, it's all set up, ready to rock.
Beautiful. And like Jim DePolo, I've told you for 13 plus years now, he runs a top producing Keller Williams team, Keller Williams Innovations, on the Florida Home Pros team. And I can get you at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, right?
That's right. All day, 24/7. And if you call that 88 hotline, we have a live person that answers the phone, not me. Okay. But you leave a voicemail. I mean, not a voicemail. You talk to a real person. They ask you a few questions so that we make sure you get your information correct. And I call you back. That's a lot of, it's funny when I call, everybody goes, wow, I didn't expect you to call. I'm like, well, who else is going to call?
Yeah, right, Johnny.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right. So, we're one call away for any questions you have on real estate, or if you need help or just some free advice, we're here for you. Give us a call. Hey, Jared, we were talking on the backside of the show, the last segment of the show, about a person that wanted to sell their house, take the equity, and buy a new home. And that's easy calculation for me. I can do that in my sleep. But you had a customer that had a different kind of question that I get all the time, which is, and Johnny, you hear this all the time too. People say, why am I going to sell my house when I have an X% interest rate, like, 3.5 or 4% interest rate, sell my house and get into today's interest rates, which, by the way, everybody, for the first time since May of 2024, we hit 7.04. We hit a 7 for a Freddie Mac number again. So this is a trend that we saw last year. So we might be going through the same exact mirroring cycle that we did last year, which is we started actually last year we started about in the mid sixes, got up to 7.22 in May. And then it took us from May to September to get down below where we were in January. So this year we're starting in an upward trend, and we don't see anything that's going to flatten it out anytime soon. So, and we went up a little bit. We went up more than like last week we were only up 0.02 is all we were up. But this week we went up significantly. We went up to, hold on here. I'm sorry, 7.04. So we went up 0.11, a tenth of a point in a week. That isn't like the end of the world. That's probably like a couple of bucks on your mortgage payment difference, not pennies, but couple bucks a month.
It's like almost not even worth mentioning, really.
But the trending, but it is in a way, because the trending is still, if you were looking at the chart, you're going to see it's on a 45-degree incline, and it's really not flattening out yet. So we don't know how far this is going to go. It might be at the top, and we might be at the peak, and it's going to start going down, or we might still be on the trajectory where we're going up. So then you have the people, why am I going to sell my super low mortgage payment to buy the new home? So, Jared, you had a person that was asking you that exact question, but unlike me, Jared's the CPA mastermind. So he did real calculations. So what did you find out in that situation? Tell me what they wanted to do, and like how you try to figure it out if it was a good idea or a bad idea for them to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they were looking to sell their house and get into something, for using that money to buy the new house.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whatever they're selling their house for, they're trying to buy a house for a similar amount to keep their mortgage at the same value. Right.
And what was the mortgage that they had, like in the house that they got now?
It was $600,000.
Okay.
A little under 600.
So they're trying to take the equity from the house that they sold and then keep to a $600,000 mortgage.
Yeah, they'd have to put the profit
down.
the
profit down and keep the mortgage to 600,000 like they got now.
Yeah, so that's what they were thinking, but because their original loan on the house they're selling was at such a low interest rate, it was at 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
And the new rates they're quoted at, or for, they were talking to the broker about, were around low 7, basically. So what I did was I ran amortization schedules to figure out what each of the loan payments would be, just principal and interest, on the old loan, the current loan, and on the new loan. So to get into the same mortgage payment, the same monthly payment, they would have had to put an extra $200,000 down on and drop the loan to $400,000. If the loan was the same, they would be paying an extra $1,500 a month just because of the increase in the interest rate. So I don't think they thought the interest rates would change the payment that month. So that means they'd have to sell the house that they're in for an extra 200,000. And the house they're buying would have to be 200,000 less than what they sold the house for. So
yeah, or right. So they'd either have to get the mortgage down to 400,000 or buy a house. Yeah,
and I don't think anybody would think it's $200,000 difference, right? To get the mortgage down.
So
to the
that's
same amount.
33%.
Yeah,
that's about a third, right, off of the 600.
In addition to what they were planning on putting down.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Is buying the interest rate down cheaper?
We'd have to talk to Mike about that. I don't know how much it costs.
I can tell you that. So in order to buy down the interest rate roughly on a $600,000 mortgage, if you got back 12,000, 2%, that will drop you 1 point. So let's say you're at 699, you'd be down to So
one 3 points.
3 points.
36,000.
Well, no, if you gave a $12,000 credit on a $600,000 home and used it to buy down the mortgage payment, you would save 1 point. So if you were normally getting 699, you'd go down to 599.
Yeah, that's what he said. So that would be 36,000.
But it doesn't work. The reason why I don't. Mike says, Mike Ralph from the mortgage firm, he doesn't say that it's a direct correlation. Like if you give 6 points, you're going to get that. Once you do the 2 points for 1%, then it costs you more money to go down, and they will only let you go so low.
Right.
Like you can't just say, "Hey,
I can't imagine it's only $40,000 when you'd have to pay 200.
It's gotta be less than 200K.
You would think so,
But just so you know, for future calculations, if somebody bought down the loan by 2%, they can get a 1% discount on the mortgage rate.
But they have to do it through the sale, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
They have to give the discount and then use the money to buy down the loan.
Oh, wow.
At closing. We use that as a technique to help our buyers sometimes.
Yeah, and it would make sense. You might not be able to get it down to the same exact rate, but you could get it down, and that 1% would make a drastic difference.
1 point is 1 point discount,
10%.
10% savings.
Yeah.
So if you did 3, you'd be even Steven.
Wow.
Right? But 1 point, you're still getting 10% discount.
That's great.
Now, the other thing to keep in mind is, and Jared and I did the calculations on this. Mike has been saying this forever, Johnny. This will help you out when you're going home shopping. Remember, Mike says that every $5,000.
Oh, yeah, it actually worked. The calculation works.
Every 5,000. What we tell our buyers is, look, when you're trying to go,
when I told you that, when I told you the change in the payment, Jim's like, oh, well, there's a way you can calculate that real quick. And I'm like, what? I ran all these schedules.
Yeah, he did all this calculations, and he came out to $1,500 a month difference, right? Higher. So I said, oh, let's take Mike's formula, which is so simple. It is every $5,000 costs you $30. Right. So $30 a month. So I didn't even know how to do the math. I was having a bad time last night, but I let Jared handle that, and we came out to 14 and change. And Jared was at 1,500. It was such a small variance.
That's crazy.
So the public, if you want to know, and this is really great when you're negotiating as a buyer. Sometimes when you're a buyer and you find a house and you really like it, and the seller isn't giving the price you want, and you're really being stressed on your mortgage, but you really, really, really want the house. You really want it. What sometimes I tell people is, look, we're arguing over $5,000 right now. This is going to, if you decide to cave in and take it, just saying hypothetically, it's going to cost you $30 a month. And they're like, oh, then they stop for a second. It's like $30 a month. They go, yeah. So that's like, don't go to Starbucks every day.
Yeah.
Right. And you got the house that you want, or, we'll still keep negotiating, but just to put it in perspective, because what people is they get myopic thinking is like it's $5,000, which is a lot of money. And maybe it's not in your budget. I'm not trying to push your budget, but it kind of gives a clarity moment of where you are. But here's another tip that we got from Mike Ralph from the mortgage firm, who will be back next week. Instead of getting the 2%, like if you went and you were buying a $600,000 house, Jared, and you said, I don't want to pay $600,000. And we went back and forth with the seller. And the seller was willing to give you a $12,000 reduction on the price of the home.
Right.
So now you're paying $588. right? Instead of 600. And let's say you're satisfied with that. That's only going to save you about $70 a month. But if you take that same $12,000, right, discount and say, don't give me the money back on a price drop, let me drop my interest rate by 10%. On a $400,000 home, which I calculated, right, not a 600, you were saving $230 a month versus 70.
I don't think most. So when you have to be doing a simultaneous buy and sell to do that.
No. You go find a house. We go shopping for your house today. We find a $600,000 house. You say, hey, I want to pay $588 for the house, right? Or I want $12,000 from the seller as a credit, some kind. Instead of doing a price drop, which a lot of people think, I won, yay, I won, I got a lower price. You're better keeping it at the 600 and say, hey, seller,
give me a credit.
Give me 12 grand. I'm going to give it to the mortgage company to buy down my mortgage rate. You're still paying on the $600,000 loan, but now your interest rate, instead of being, I'm just making up a number, 7, you're going to pay 6 for the.
You're talking about on the purchase.
Yes, on the purchase when you're purchasing the house. So a lot of buyers, they don't understand that. It's all about price to them, but you have to understand all of these numbers so you make the right decision.
Oh, they all matter.
Yeah, they matter a lot.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think most people are aware of that. That's really good information.
Yeah, so you really, if you're doing this, you really got to figure out, you got to understand your numbers and not just what you can qualify for. I met with one of, I like training agents, right? So I always am helping coaching agents and everything. And I get coached, right? Dan coaches me. So I just believe in training. But I met a younger agent. She's going to be a rock star, right? But when I was talking to her, she said she's working mostly with buyers. So she gave me an example of a buyer she was working with. And I said, well, how much are you approved for mortgage? How much are you approved for taxes and insurance? And do you have an HOA included in that amount? And she looked at me like a deer in the headlights, like, what? And I go, you can't be running around showing houses based only on the purchase price. You have to understand taxes and insurance and HOA fees and how that's involved. And Johnny, you're an expert on this now because you and Mike have been working on this for years and years on the purchase, the refi, and now maybe a sale and a purchase again. So you really got those numbers, right, Johnny?
Well, that's you talk about Mike, the value of his calculator, his app,
sure.
Like it incorporates a lot of that. It gives you that, like, here's where you're at versus, leaning on the expertise of an agent. Now, you say she's going to be a rock star. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. She's still got a lot to learn, but you walked her right into a great learning moment there.
Yeah, there was a teachable.
All these numbers matter.
And she was listening. That's why I know she's going to be a rock star.
Yeah.
So she's already as soon as I walked out of the office, I knew she was thinking, I got homework assignment.
A lot.
Now,
soaking it up.
Yeah, the good news is that I know the mortgage broker that she's working with right now. Not Mike, because she, she isn't part of her team or anything, but the mortgage broker she's working with, very professional. He's going to know all those numbers, not let her get in a trap.
Good.
But there's a lot of green agents that are with mortgage brokers that are not like that, or loan officers that are not like that they don't even bother telling you, hey, I budgeted the taxes. Don't go over $5,000 in taxes. You can't afford this number.
Yeah, there's traps everywhere. You really got to have a good team to do it right.
So just
the mentality's got to be right. You hear Mike, you hear everybody on this team say it. We're not trying to get into a contract that isn't going to close.
Right.
And there are ways to avoid that, like knowing your numbers. There's so much value in just having that drive. It's just not business for business sake. It's business to get her done.
Yep, 100%. And Jim, like we were talking about a little bit with the interest rate, it's important when you're doing that to understand the change in the interest rate. But, if you have to sell your house and you're selling it no matter what, the interest rate matters because you want to know what your new payment's going to be and make sure you can afford it. But it's not really a factor in determining whether or not you sell your house if you have to sell it anyway. So that's kind of a sunk cost that you have to consider to make sure you can afford it, but not to make sure you decide if you sell your property.
Exactly. And Mike says this all the time. He says, really, the interest rate should not be the decision or whether you decide to buy or not. Yeah, exactly. What he says is, as long as you could afford the mortgage payment you're having,
That's what matters.
and you're comfortable, it doesn't really matter on the interest rate. Now, I know a lot of people driving around out there right now are going, "Pah," that just sounds like puffery from a real estate agent.
I'm not a real estate agent. It is an important variable, but it is not the most important. The most important is what is going to cost you monthly. What's your monthly obligation? That interest rate is part of what your monthly obligation is going to be, but it's not the most important number. The most important number is what am I going to owe every month?
And it's a keep it simple, stupid.
Especially if you don't have an option and you have to sell your
well,
house.
yeah, well, then you're going to do what you have to do. But it's really, if you think about it, it just popped in my head, you saying this. If you kind of want to just kind of keep it simple, stupid kind of policy, that's what you do when you're a renter.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a renter, all you care about is how much is the rent and can I afford it? That's all you care about.
That's it.
Right.
Really, you should be really in a lot of ways doing the same thing with your house. The most simplest thing is, can I afford this mortgage or not?
Yep.
And of course, do I have the down payment and closing costs?
Of course.
But can I afford the mortgage payment?
Yep.
And it's really that simple. And everybody makes it so much complicated. Well, what's the interest rates doing? Is the market up or is the market down?
Well, here's what I think for me, I just have like one quick question. Like, have you looked into the number? Because if the answer is no, you are flailing. Like you're so lost at sea.
Mm-hmm.
If you know your numbers, you know what you can afford. But if you're just basing it on the interest rate, we hear it all the time. I'm going to wait for interest rates to come down. But you're not aiming for a real number. Your real number is your monthly nut. And if you don't know what that is, you're not even like zip it. Shut up. Zip it. Zip it.
Yeah.
You're full of nonsense.
Yeah, because they're not looking at the cause and effect. When the interest rates start going down significantly enough for a person like that to get into the market,
everybody's
going to be there. So the prices go up, and now your payment is still going to be
around
higher,
same,
right? Or the same. It could even be higher.
Yeah.
So,
because now bidding wars get in play. We've seen this happen before. Again, when people lean on only that number, you just kind of roll your eyes and be like, all right, well, talk to me when you're really interested. Because if you're really interested, you're going to dive into what it's going to take.
Yeah.
What kind of money you got to save. Exactly.
I was talking to a guy named Peter, who's a really great guy. He owns Bald Eagle Moving. If you need a moving company, I checked him out. He's very legit.
My favorite of the Eagles, by the way.
Yeah, Bald Eagles.
Yeah,
like Bald Eagles. That's the best one.
I like my eagles with hair.
Preferably
you mean feathers,
a
right?
mullet.
Yeah.
A mullet. Yeah, that's funny. A
There's a
mullet.
little landing strip.
I like that mullet. That's why you got the picture in my head. So, Peter, we sat down. He's going to be a first-time home buyer, maybe. He wasn't sure. He owns this moving company, so he was thinking, I can buy a piece of land, put all my moving trucks there, and save a lot of money and live on the compound.
Be a man and buy land,
right? Yeah, be a man, buy land. I love that. I love that advertising up in Port St. Lucie on US1. Be a man, buy land. And then we started going over everything and looking at prices and price points that Mike tentatively said he could qualify for. So then he goes, what I could do is I could just buy like a townhome in Abacoa and Jupiter or something like that, and then still keep all my equipment everywhere else. That's another option for me. And then he said, I don't have to buy anything. I'm okay where I am now, and he's like, maybe I should wait for the interest rates to drop, or maybe the prices are too high. And he started saying all the things that you hear that are the normal objections in today's market.
He wants the prices to go down and the interest rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that what I heard?
Yeah, that's like exactly. That's like having gravity and not having gravity at the same time. So I listened to him very, very carefully because everybody feels this way. There's so many people feel that way, so you don't want to shoot them down. And I was listening really carefully, and I said, well, what you're not taking in consideration, Peter, is that since 2014, people have been saying that the prices are too high. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because prices have been going up since 2014 after the crash. Now, the interest rates were good for part of that, but then the interest rates got too high. So then you had two objections. Prices are too high. Something's going to crash. Years and years later, that never happened. Then the interest rates went up. Then it became a double whammy. The prices are too high and the interest rates are too high. Now we have the triple whammy. And now insurance is too high, or the condo, I'll be fair, or the condo fees are too high, or whatever, right? So everybody's saying everything's too dang high, right? There's some truth to that because affordability, we're not there, okay? But what I said to Peter is, I'm just closing on a deal for a man named Roberto. He bought in 2018. in 2018, the interest rates hit almost 6%. And
Oh, he's
everybody
crazy to
was
buy.
freaking
What
out.
is he buying now
Yeah.
for? Oh, worst time to buy. What a lunatic.
Wait for it
Oh,
to
and the
come down.
prices
Oh.
hadn't gone down. And they were like, oh, this is crazy time. You're on the precipice of a crash.
You're
right?
going to lose everything.
Well, he bought with low down payment financing. I think he even got down payment assistance at the time.
Nice, good.
Okay, so he came to the table with less than $20,000 to buy the house. Now, that was 2018. Now, we went through all this stuff that happened from 2018 and now. We went through COVID. We went through the Fed cutting the rates in 2018. I mean, raising the rates in 2018 and then going back and cutting them during COVID. Then we had the big boom again in COVID, and now we're going through what we're going through now. And I said, Peter, through all of that, the last 7 years, do you know that we have had not 1 year of depreciation in any of those years and all the stuff we went through? So Roberto, everybody said, he made a really poor decision. Here it is 8 years later or 7 years later.
It was a great decision.
And now he's walking away with low six figures, but six figures in his pocket, real money to go put a down payment on a new home.
Because he's paid down his mortgage on top of it. Right?
And the appreciation of all that time.
Is that assumable loan too?
No, unfortunately, I wish. Yeah.
I thought it.
I
said
know.
FHA.
I know. So I was thinking it too.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to do that, Johnny, than they say that assumable. Most of the time it doesn't work. The mortgage brokers block it.
Really?
They don't want you to do that.
Didn't I see one of your listings has an assumable?
I threw it out
Did you?
so many times. None of the all the buyers that had their own mortgage companies, none of their mortgage companies wanted to deal with it because they weren't getting the whole sale.
Oh, it's lame.
Right? They were only getting a little partial sale because when you do an assumable, you take over the mortgage that exists and then you make up the difference with the second mortgage.
Right.
And then the second mortgage, they make it so high for the interest rate, it blows out all the savings on the first.
That's a shame.
So they do that on purpose as far as I'm concerned. They're like, give me all the money or I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with Roberto, he's walking away with six figures. Now he has real money to put down on a new home in Orlando when he's ready. And, when Peter was listening to that, he's like, you could tell that there was like a little, I wasn't trying to sway him. I was just talking real life example. Like, whatever decision for you, if you think it's better to rent,
that's the
continue
key. What's
renting.
best for you in this moment? So what he did though, when he bought, when everybody said you shouldn't, he locked in, he rent controlled, he's got his spot. He lived there 7 years. I'm sure he's very happy.
No taxes on the sale either because he's past the 2 years.
Yeah, I mean things were just great as he's added appreciation, and it's just it just shows that it worked well for him at the time. That the interest rate shouldn't be the deciding factor. It's can he afford it, and he was content with his number. He got all the help that he could. There's always where there's a will, there's a way, and when you have that will, you just find the information to get the way.
And
this is the way. Hashtag this is the way.
And the other thing that people should know is I did the research in our general area, South Florida. We have not had depreciation since 2013. That's an extremely long time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So trying to bet what's going to happen in the market, it's crazy town.
That means that it's coming soon. So I'm going to wait till then.
I feel like
and I'm
everybody's
waiting until interest rates come down.
Bound to happen, right, Ross?
We've been hearing that this whole period.
But
it's
I
coming
feel
soon.
that
It's
way.
coming soon.
It's like I've seen red a bunch of times on that roulette table. Black's got to be coming now.
It's gonna be
That's
black.
me though. That's me. It's funny,
Feels that
Ross,
way.
because I'm in that ilk where I'm in that group where it's like something's got to give where we get at least a flattening out of appreciation for a little while, just for a breather. Because one thing is true, and I want everybody to listen to this because we're not sell, is that we do have an affordability issue.
Yeah.
Right. So that's real. So people that every week or so when I put out my weekly newsletter, by the way, Jeff, he asked for the weekly newsletter last week from here on the radio show. I sent 2 of them out to you. If anybody wants the weekly newsletter from me, it gives the update of what's happening in the market. Real good information in a fun and entertaining way. Just let me know and I'll get you on the email list. But the bottom line is that don't let your personal place where you're going to live and it's your home and not an investment property. Now, when we're talking investment, completely different conversation than we're having now. But if you need a place to live, my bottom line is, and I would love to get these professors from the local colleges to talk about this because they don't agree with me on this. My bottom line is, uh, you got to get into the real estate game to get that result of seeing appreciation and paying down the mortgage make a difference, a financial difference in your life. And until you start doing that, you get your toe in the water on your first property. You really don't feel the effects of it. So when you're on the outside, it doesn't sound like it's real. I know, Johnny, that you
Sure.
kind of felt like that 12 years ago or so,
Sure.
right? But now that you've been through it, the amount of money that you put into that house to buy it, I'm not talking about the upgrades and everything, and what you'll get when you leave, it's dramatic, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
dramatic. It's life changing in a way. I don't mean that you're going to live rich forever. I'm just saying the amount of down payment you could put on your new home, you would have never probably been able to save that up over the time that you were in the house, unless you were really, really
Absolutely.
disciplined.
Yeah, absolutely. Timing is everything, and obviously if you can time things perfectly, they can go really well. And for me, it did time pretty well, but I had a tremendous amount of pressure from you and Rob at the time because I was never going to buy a home, and we were coming out of that bust. Like, it was getting a little bit more expensive. It wasn't the bottom, but you guys were both like, look, if it's ever going to happen, you really need to do it now, and just kind of forced me into the water, even though I was like, I can't swim. And about 9 months, a lot of help, which never goes unrecognized, but about 9 months, and we were in a position to where, I was qualifying for FHA and looking for the reality. But it's all about knowing where that destination is. You got to know where your finish line is, where you got to get to. And once you know that, you can work towards something. It's so empty and baseless to hear people all the time, like, just arbitrarily throwing out these, this is what I'm waiting for. This is what I'm waiting for. No, find that real end game and work towards it. Don't wait for it. Work towards it.
I totally agree. Thank you, Johnny.
And yes, Jim, it did change financial position instantly.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I got that house, like, my credit score now compared to what my credit score was when I signed that contract to buy that thing, night and day. Like, it just instantly, as long as you don't abuse your credit, which I'm guilty of from time to time, there's so much value in being a homeowner.
I want to get into two more things before the end of the show. We got about 30 minutes left. You can always call with any questions you have on the air, and we'll answer them.
877-927-6969.
Thank you, sir. The first thing I wanted to get into is I really feel this is important. Peter owns a moving company, the guy that we were talking about. So he's self-employed. So he's jumping through a lot of hoops with Mike from the mortgage firm to make sure he's getting ready for the loan to qualify. Because when you're self-employed, there is a lot of difference when you're trying to get somebody approved for a loan for self-employed. And so when I work with self-employed people, Jarrett, why does it always seem to be more difficult for them sometimes to qualify for a loan than somebody that has a regular W-2 9-to-5 job, gets paid every 2 weeks from the man?
Yeah. I mean, I think self-employed people typically have a harder time because the income's not stated. Like, they may say, hey, I made, $150,000 last year, and they may have, but when you're on a W-2 and you say you made $150,000, you get a W-2 that says you made $150,000. When you're self-employed, most people, when they are, the mortgage, they're relying on your tax returns. Typically, there's various other ways to do it, but that's the primary factor.
Right.
And when somebody's buying a house, typically if they're not working with a team and doing it the right way, so they're filing their tax return based on mitigating their tax. And what that requires typically is for them to reduce their income to get the tax bill down.
So for those that don't know, mitigating, like me, they're trying to pay as little tax as possible.
Yeah, I mean
So they're reporting a lower income, even though they really could show a stronger income.
Right. They could show a stronger income, or they could work with somebody like Mike and do it proactively.
And then what I see a lot of times is the self-employed person goes, I want to buy that house. And they probably could afford it because they know their finances really well, but they didn't report enough taxes to
Qualify.
enough
qualify
income.
for
Yeah,
that.
enough on their taxes.
Right. So that's the first problem. The second thing is there any way to fix that? Can you fix that? Like if you've already filed your taxes, or if you know, like if you've already filed your taxes, can you fix it after the fact?
I mean, you could amend your return, but it looks really sketchy to amend it. I mean, if you amend your tax return to qualify for a mortgage, I think you're looking at mortgage fraud. So I don't think that's something you want to do. Could you do it? Possibly, but the best thing to do is to, when you know you want to buy a house, or when you're filing your taxes every year. This is something I do with my clients. We ask them, are they going to be applying for a loan anytime soon? To make sure we can, if they are, then we work with the broker. We're not just going to file their tax return just to get the tax down. There's too many other things at play. So
there are ways to minimize the tax returns and still show the kind of income you need to qualify for the loan.
There's things like interest and depreciation, especially where for mortgage, or even paying your business, your car out of your business. There's things where the mortgage broker will add it back. And Mike's really good about this. That gets added back to your income, even though it's tax deductible and reducing your taxes. So instead of listing something on your return as repairs and maintenance, if you put it as an asset and depreciate it, it doesn't hurt you for a mortgage.
Perfect. I want to ask you one more question, but let's go ahead and take the caller first, and then we'll move on to the last question on that subject, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, we got Pam checking in with Florida Talk Real Estate. She had a question about buying a home. We touched on a little bit earlier, so she had a question about that. Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Hey,
I'm a
Pam.
regular.
Hey, how are you doing?
Okay. I'm good. Thanks. Great show today. Thank you. That buyer's agent hit home, Johnny, that you were helping. But I happen to have a really good mortgage loan officer, and she does. She includes the mortgage, the tax and insurance and everything when concluding this. Most of my buyers don't want an HOA, and that's almost becoming a trend. But the thing I'm running across right now, and I'm really tempted to go with these new builder specials. They're offering
they are
great. 4% done and fast cash, $15,000 at closing, and they'll knock the house down $10,000 for me. And then I'm talking to professionals. They're going, listen, that's a wash. What's the truth there?
Why do you say it's a wash? What do you mean it's a wash?
The builders agents are telling me that friends of mine, they said at the end it's a wash. It's like a farce. So it's
that they're not really offering you what they're offering.
I think she's saying
they are.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, they are, but I don't understand how it's not a better deal than a pre-owned home with a higher interest rate and not all this down payment assistance. It sounds wonderful, but they're telling me it's not really. It's kind of thing.
I think I understand your point. I don't agree. New construction versus resale, in my opinion, if you're worried about long-term future costs, the new construction is a much safer bet. You're not going to have to worry about your roof for 20 years if you don't get it damaged. You don't have to worry about your AC for 10 to 12. You don't have to worry about your water heater for another 10. You don't have to worry about the insurance company, right? You don't have to worry about the insurance company calling you up, tracking up your insurance, at least right now. And we have real life proof with Jimothy.
Sure.
How much was the difference percentage-wise from your old insurance where your house was half the size, the resale, versus your new construction home, which is twice the size?
Yeah, I think it went down about $1,000 to $1,500 a year. It went down.
What would be the percentage?
size.
Right. Which would be the percentage of it compared to your, like that $1,500 savings? What is that a percentage of the original?
From about $3,500 to $2,000.
Yeah.
To use real numbers.
Right.
I mean, I don't.
Right. So
do the math that way
you're saving
but
tons of money on the insurance, which usually offsets your HOA fee, right? So if people go, I don't want to pay the HOA fee, well, you're going to pay way lower on the insurance. So let's say that you had $5,000 a year for a resale house, or let's say $6,000 a year, so that's $500 a month, and then you can get into a new construction home. Jimmy, just roughly, what were you paying gross for your new construction home for the insurance? Like 21 or 28?
About 2,000.
2,000. Okay.
Around $2,000.
So the difference between 2,000 and 6,000 is 4,000. So that's about $300 a month, $315 a month. So you're saving $315 a month just from your insurance and not having to worry about all the other junk that's coming. The other thing that's happening in new construction right now, the reason why they're offering discounts is the market's slow. This is a thing that people don't understand. The developers are jonesing for
Yeah, they gotta
buyers right
sell
now.
that. Yeah.
I had a couple 2.5 years ago, bought a $700,000 house for me. They would normally give me a 3% commission. They gave me 1% on that deal. That same developer now is begging agents to
Begging
come
you. Yeah.
at 5%. Hey, you bring me a buyer, I'll give you
Wow.
5%
It costs
right
them
now.
more to hold the properties. I mean, they have to unload them. They have all types of other issues at stake.
Okay, that yeah,
So
that
there's
makes total
deals.
sense to me.
There's
So I'll ignore that wash comment from
yeah,
Miranda Builders. For
yeah. I don't know where they came up with
surprised
that.
to hear from him because he sells the houses. You know what I mean? So I thought,
Mhm.
wow, he's giving me some inside information because he trusts me, he's a friend, he's nice.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
was controversy to his business. So okay, that does go in line. Now, speaking of builders, what are they going to do with all this inventory that's not selling now? You hear all kinds of
It'll be
reviews. I watch YouTube.
gobbled up. One of the they're
They're
offering
going to offer
incentives.
incentives. Yeah.
They're offering buyers agents, bring your buyers. They're offering incentives directly to the homeowner for mortgages and upgrades. And then some of them, there was Lisa and her husband Kevin. They're thinking about selling here and moving up to Northeast Florida. The development they're looking at, the unit that they were looking at was dropped 60 grand over the original list price. It's a new construction that's just sitting there. Now, we're not talking about like $1 million property that dropped 60 grand. This house was listed at like a low 4 number, like 420 or something, and it's 60 grand lower today than when they started building the property. So there's big savings out there right now, and I think the trend should be for a lot of people to try to move with new construction homes. If you're worried about all the future things that could happen, if you're really worried about that, new construction might be the way to go. But just be careful when you sign the contracts with them, because I just had somebody who, a guy named Ken, who went into a new construction deal. They were supposed to finish it in 9 months. 12 months later, they didn't even break ground. Thank God the developer gave him his money back. I thought he was going to have a fight over it, but he won. Yeah, he
You
didn't
hear
have a
about
fight.
that a lot. I mean, it does happen.
So you have to be
It's a risk.
careful.
It's a risk.
Yeah. So you really, my opinion is, you really need to have an agent or attorney work with you if you're buying new construction. Just don't go up against, not against, but don't go and do a deal with a developer. You got, these contracts are 5 times the size of a regular contract, and all of that stuff that's in there is for the developer's protection, not yours.
Yep.
So get a
And we
good
have
person.
to use their bank. We have to use their bank,
Yeah.
right? Have to
Yeah,
use their bank
exactly.
for that.
Well, Pam, thank you so much. I want to close out with a couple subjects I got. So thank you so much for calling. I wish you the best. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
So, Jared, getting back to self-employed. So some of the tips you were saying was one of the reasons why self-employed people sometimes have a problem getting a mortgage is they usually are trying to save on tax costs, and then they report their income too low, and then they make a decision to buy the house, and they're not prepared enough in order to get the income needed for the type of house they want to buy.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, and then we also, and you said that there are ways, as long as there's planning, that as long as you plan it correctly, you can fix those problems where you can still get tax savings, but qualify for the loan you want, as long as you talk to your team ahead of time and try to work it out. So that comes to my third question. Okay.
Yep.
My third question is, when should the self-employed person start if they're thinking about buying a home? Like, it's on their radar, but not solid yet. When should they start planning to get all of this stuff done?
Yeah, I think as soon as they're thinking about buying the home, if they're serious about it, before they put all this stuff in their head and make all these assumptions, they should go talk to their accountant, their tax preparer, and their broker, and start getting them to work together so they can figure out if it's actually realistic or not. And if it is, then they can point them in the right direction and start putting that plan in place.
It's really important stuff. So if you're self-employed, because we work with a lot of self-employed people on all kinds of things, refis, mortgages, buying a house, selling a house, right? Even selling businesses for people. We're working on an AC deal right now. We're trying to sell an AC company. So if you're have any of those needs, you give us a call.
Yeah. One other thing, with the loans, when they're trying to get it, they can always, there's different ways to not just to present it, but they need to be able to make sure that they're reporting everything the right way, but getting their income exactly right, so they know exactly what the payment's going to be. Otherwise, they don't know if they can afford the house. And if you're just filing your tax return, you're going to be left high and dry.
So you definitely recommend the CPA and the loan officer or mortgage broker working together as a team to make that happen, right?
Yeah, they'll find out right away if it's realistic or not, and they can do it. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, Jared. Thank you so much. Hey, Ross, I was reading this story in Central Florida where they're saying that like 20 to 30% of the people in Central Florida buying homes are deciding to go insurance free, going naked, right? Uncovered, right? Now, you only can do that if you don't have a loan, obviously, right? And it's funny, 25 to 30%, that's about what the average cash buyer market is right now, or it's about 25 to 30%. So it looks like to me that in Central Florida, a lot of these cash buyers are just saying, screw it, I'm not going to get any insurance at all.
Right now, we're not in hurricane season. Why would you carry it right now?
Oh, I never thought about that. Could you do that? Like get a policy right before hurricane season, cancel it right after, and then turn it on again right before? Could you do that year after year?
I mean, Citizens is the only one that you're going to be able to get insurance with, because they're the only ones that are going to do somebody who hasn't had prior insurance.
Oh,
there'll be a 30-day wait.
There'll be a lapse.
There'll be a 30-day wait before it becomes effective, and then
dumb idea. I threw it out there. It's a dumb idea. I never thought about it.
But I mean, I wouldn't go naked.
No way.
No. So
let's
talk about that. Have you ever seen in your insurance career as many people deciding, I don't want insurance at all right now?
I don't think anybody ever wants insurance.
Right. Well, you know what I mean? Like that they would decide not to do it.
I mean, I still don't see a lot of people, I see people saying, maybe I don't need wind coverage. And yeah, that makes sense a lot of the times, because I mean, if you have let's say you have a, $700,000 dwelling coverage, you're paying $15,000 a year. Your deductible for hurricane damage is going to be $14,000. So you pay 3 years at 15. You've now spent $45,000. Now you have damage. Now you got to spend another $14,000. So now you spent $60,000 to get a roof. How much is a roof?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
and I do have a lot of clients that have a lot of rental properties, and a lot of attorneys tell them that, hey, if you put them all in a separate LLC, then you don't need to carry insurance. And, I'm not a huge fan of that, but
what happens if it burns down?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't agree.
They might be looking at liability or something like the liability part of it.
Yeah.
Separating that. Yeah. But I mean, you still need to have some sort of property damage coverage in case, your tenants burn it down.
I agree for sure. I just start to see it more and more for some reason. It seems like a lot of people are doing it.
I wonder if it would be as prevalent if we weren't in the insurance market that we're in, right?
Yeah.
It just feels like it's a
bigger cost.
It's reached a point where they're like, well, I'm willing to take the risk because it's just a big enough nut that I'm like, I'll roll the dice. I mean, not in my world, but to some.
Yeah.
To just put it in perspective, I'm not saying I agree with these numbers, okay, but because we've talked about this in the past with Ross, some of these media numbers of what they're saying the average or median insurance policy is in Florida is a lot higher than what Ross is writing. But just because they're coming up with these high numbers again.
Yeah, because you got to take into account like Palm Beach, all those big like mega mansions, and those premiums are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
A lot of times.
So what just to put it in perspective, Florida is still the most expensive insurance area by far, even though that our prices are flattening out. They're not increasing by leaps and bounds. But what do you think the second most highest insurance state is for cost for insurance?
Didn't we just do this couple with South Carolina
last week?
Yeah. Oh, this is a different group though. So the numbers are different. That's why it's always different.
Okay.
What do you think about the second is Louisiana on this one? So they're saying that our policy, this is coming from Central Florida Public Media.
Oh, well. Okay.
right?
All right.
So this is saying
They're
that
my
our
go-to news
policies are $10,996.
How much?
$10,996 a year.
Oh,
Louisiana, the second most expensive state in this report, is $6,300 a year. So it's like we're 1/3 or 50% higher than Louisiana, right? Then the third state is Oklahoma, right? And then Texas, Mississippi, Colorado, Nebraska, Alabama, Kansas, Arkansas. So what we got is hurricanes, wildfire, tornadoes, right there, right?
Right,
That's the
right.
three things.
Did you say
Uh,
California?
nope.
No, I didn't. But I think Colorado is going to be more wildfires.
So remember, California they like cap increases.
Oh,
Oh, is that
Yeah,
why?
the state's like, nah, you ain't increasing. That's why State Farm's getting drug right now. They just did like what everybody did.
Yeah.
You can't. You're not letting us raise our rates, or we're not gonna cover
gonna
fire
insure.
for these, right? But for some reason, State Farm is getting drugged. I don't know why they're getting drugged the hardest. But yeah, California's like, nah, you ain't raising rates, yo. That's just the way it is.
you would think their insurance would be the highest.
You would think.
Yeah,
Nope.
but that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
I keep seeing like, State Farm canceled these policies right before the fire.
Such
and
junk.
it's-
That's junk.
No,
Yeah.
they non-renewed. There's statutory limits on how much time they have to give you. It's not like they saw the fires and said, "Oh, hey, the fires are across the
About to
street."
hear, yeah,
Now
we're dumping you.
we're canceling your insurance. And they give you plenty of time to go find other carriers.
Oh, yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Oh, and they had this state-funded fire supplemental, which I guess is woefully under.
yeah, it's like our citizens.
Yeah,
They're
there's like they
fair.
need like 16 billion. I think I
Right,
probably should know that.
but-
They only had like $1 billion in the coffers, like woefully underfunded. But they were like, well, here's this supplemental, and if we need it, the state's on it. We got you. So I mean, but none of that. It's just for some reason I don't know why State Farm is getting drugged, but I guess every media outlet has to have something to kick.
So
Well,
To
that's
get
what-
everybody all
hey,
fired
That's
up.
what it is.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
it's all the
They
media.
know they're not going to look into the details.
Yeah.
They don't care the truth. They're just going to run with the
And
nonsense.
LA Fire Department's getting murdered over all this stuff too, and it's not them. This is forest fire. This has nothing to do with a local fire department.
You know what my favorite
Yeah.
part though? And this is just the little things in life. The little wins are the things I celebrate. So I don't have any. There's no horse in this race, but I like the State Farm commercials, right? I don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
State Farm, but I'm like, why are they getting killed? They move the game that was in LA because of the air quality to Arizona. It was
Right.
the Rams game,
Yeah.
right? And where do they move it to? State Farm Stadium. They just get all
That's
this
funny.
free advertisement. I'm like,
That's
that
funny.
is karma, and you
Yeah.
can all kiss the fattest part of my
That is
behind.
my
and
I
you
heard
can
they
find it.
pulled their Super Bowl commercial.
Have some. Oh yeah, they're pulling it because they're like, look, we're gonna spend money elsewhere.
right, we
Mhm.
can't spend.
We're
Yeah.
pulling our
Yeah.
Super Bowl commercial. Yeah.
So Ross,
Wow.
do you have any perspective of when people decide
So
not
good.
to insure fully? Do you have any perspective just watching people do this like I do when people make decisions on their mortgages and refis and stuff? Which ones are making like a informed, smart, even though there's some risk, but educated risk decision versus the people that are emotional? Is like, I'm just not paying for this and not really looking at what would happen if they do have a claim. Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're making that decision, you got to make sure you got a nest egg. You know, because the people that I do talk to and that have these things, a lot of the times they go, "I don't care if it falls down, I'll build a new one," because they have enough.
They
money,
have that kind of money,
right?
Right.
And I mean, I'm not talking big mega mansions. I'm talking, probably, a nice 2,000 square foot house, in Jupiter. So it's not millions of dollars, but they've said, hey, if anything happens, I have enough money where I can either build myself a new house or take care of the repairs. So, that's an educated decision. So if you're in that spot, you really have to weigh how much money do I have, to do anything versus how much is this actually going to cost me per year.
Maybe if they have a whole bunch of rentals in that price range, right, and they have to pay all those premiums, the odds that they all get smashed at once, but you never know. And so
but again,
if
I
they're
mean,
saving,
if you're going to be dropping hurricane coverage, that I can understand. If you own that thing outright, that I can understand, especially if your dwelling coverages are high. Like your deductibles on top of multiple years of premiums is going to be enough to put in an account, as long as you're actually doing that.
Yeah. Saying
as
it's
long
one
as
thing.
you're, instead of writing a check to XYZ Insurance, you're writing a check to Fidelity
most
Fidelity
people don't do
Investment,
that, yeah.
right? Yeah. So as long as you're doing that, then God forbid, that is kind of the true self-insure, right?
Right.
You're putting away a little bit of money that way. If anything happens, you're
got
okay. If we get a hurricane, a category 10 that comes,
Mhm.
and knocks
Haven't
it
heard
down.
that one yet, but
It's coming.
It's coming. That's the new rating scale. They haven't released it yet. Then you're going to be in trouble. But I mean, the way that I look at it, most of the people that are self-insuring their homes are a little older, right?
Mhm.
They've been there for 30, 40, the people themselves have been there for 30, 40
Right.
years, paid it off. And, those homes, they've been hit by multiple hurricanes and most of them are still there.
Right.
So if you got the money to do all the repairs yourself, it's not a bad idea.
And the value of the home too. My parents stopped buying homeowners insurance for the wind side of things. For that, I don't know, 20 something years ago. It's a mobile home,
Right.
And the cost of it, they owned it outright.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
cost of the insurance in a few years would be the value of the home.
Right. They could have bought
Yeah,
two
that's-
mobile homes.
Yeah. So
right?
there's
It's like-
really, so they kept liability. Of
Yep.
course, you want that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and fire,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
So-
that's not very expensive.
Right.
Like that is not very expensive at all.
So if you're looking for insurance advice and figuring out what's the most cost-effective way for you, you got to go to Ross at Brightway Insurance. Or all you got to do is go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com and go through the contact management system, call our hotline. However you want to do it, we'll get you to Ross. Ross will get you the answers that you need.
Yeah,
For
well,
sure.
you need pros. The guessing game is ridiculous, and man, if it's just you're parroting junk you hear, it's a lot of junk you hear. Get the real truth from the pros. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
We're going to pass on creepy critters because I want more
Oh.
time to. I know, but I want more time to talk about it. So
At
we're
least
gonna
give us a
talk about
little
next
hint.
week.
Like, is it fly?
No, it isn't. It swims.
It swims.
Yeah, it
Ew.
swims. It's
Did
a
it get on?
swimmer.
Does it get on land as well?
It's an air breather.
It
But it
breathes
swims.
Salamander.
air,
But
a
it swims.
salamander.
No, no
Oh.
legs. No
No
legs.
legs.
I know what it is.
Yeah,
I know
Tap-
what
but
it is.
yeah, you've probably seen the articles I saw.
You know what it
But-
is?
I do.
Yeah.
I
So-
think so.
Oh,
I think
is it amphibious? Shark. It's sharky. Super sharky.
Wait, sharks don't breathe air.
Hey, listen to this. Remember last week when we checked this, there were a little bit less homes. Remember the inventory for homes on the MLS? I've been checking this every once in a while. We got up to 55,000, then it dropped a little bit to 54 or something. 57,402 went up a couple of thousand properties in the last 10 days. Now let's see how many foreclosures and short sales. How many short sales are active right now in the South Florida region that are active? 143.
Hmm.
How many foreclosures are active right now? 269. So we're breaking over 300 now. Wait,
Combined?
Yeah, we're almost at
69.
400. We're almost at 400. And when I started this in September, there were less than 200 for sale.
Right.
So
Well,
we're
how many
creeping
houses
up.
were on the MLS at that time too?
45,000.
All right.
So yeah, so we're seeing a little bit more. Most of those trouble properties, especially the short sales, are condos, right? The great majority of the short sales right now in the market are condos.
No surprise.
Hint, hint, right? Because of all the
surprise.
problems with that.
No.
If you have a problem with your condo, you can't afford the condo fees and the mortgage payment, give us a call. We're going to figure out how to help you. We have the lawyers that you need, the title companies that you need, the realtors you need, the mortgage brokers that you need to try to get that going. Thanks, guys.
No, thank you very much. You hear that music? That means that, 2 hours went just like that. Thank you for being a part of the Florida Talk Real Estate festivities every Saturday. For those that are streaming with us, Facebook and YouTube, remember those are sources of lots of information to consume, especially that YouTube. Ton of informational chunk videos to consume there. But thanks for live streaming. And of course, if you're just on the radio or the app, thank you very much for making us a part of your Saturday morning. When you need a team behind you, when you're buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, anything that touches the world of real estate, you really need a team, some pros, expertise. It's very valuable. And I got a resource for all that at one spot. The one-stop real estate shop that is FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. You can change lives, including your very own, at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Ross Camarnetz, Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. I hope you have an excellent rest of your weekend, my friend.
Thank you. I hope you do too. If everybody does.
Thank you. I'm going to give it my old college try. I didn't go to college, really. Yeah.
Well,
I did.
You
I
still
just
got
didn't.
it in your system.
I didn't attend a lot.
Still got some eligibility left.
Yeah, I definitely have
Right.
eligibility.
You
might
gave
wanna
it
go
the
play.
old
An
college
NIL
try.
deal.
Yeah, where you just sleep in and mail it in every day. Yeah, that's the old college track. Jerry Perry.
Yeah.
You just unplugged us.
You have a mic? Anybody?
No.
Yeah, you have a mic?
No.
No.
Did
No, it
you
always-
unplug the wrong thing?
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're on.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Weird, yeah. Wow.
Jerry Perry,
Everybody have a great weekend.
have a good weekend, my friend.
If you can
Jimmy
hear
D,
us.
Jim DePaul.
Yeah, if you can hear us, have a great weekend.
I just can't hear anything because Jim unplugged everything. Right? The mics are working.
That thing
Okay,
went down.
yep. All right. Sweet. That's weird to be doing radio without hearing. Timothy, I hope you have a great weekend, my
You too,
friend.
buddy.
The Panthers show's next.
Tell your smart device to play Real Radio 92.1 on iHeartRadio. Go on, tell it.
Be on the air with Panthers preview at 5:30 p.m. And again, as we count it down over the course of the hour, again, Doug Plagans with you, Dan Days on the other side of the glass. We're going to recap a little bit of the week that was for the Panthers, who are looking to rebound tonight against Anaheim. We'll look ahead to tonight's game a bit. We'll hear a few sound bites from Panthers head coach Paul Maurice here in just a moment. Coming up next segment, I'll be joined by Jordan McPherson from the Miami Herald. Does a great job covering the Panthers and, well, lots of things here in South Florida. We'll visit with Jordan coming up in segment number 2. And then later on in the program, I'll be joined by Panthers defenseman, second year over here in North America for Uvis Balinskis. We will talk to him coming up later on in the program, a one-on-one conversation I had with Uvis Balinskis later on in the show. So again, lots to get to as we look back at the week that was, as we prepare for the week ahead. In mentioning what lies ahead for the Panthers, the SeatGeek road ahead, looking at the upcoming action for the Panthers. It'll be tonight's game at home, 6 o'clock face-off, 5:30 Panthers preview on the radio network, and then it's off to the road for 4 straight. And it's an important road trip for the Panthers for a number of reasons, but also just nice to be able to check this one off coming up. And obviously you hope that you get the positive results, everything that goes along with it, but to be able to be done with the Mountain and Pacific time zone travel for the Panthers before the end of the month of January, that could be a scheduling advantage moving into the second half for this Panthers team. So again, the Panthers will start up this upcoming road trip Tuesday night, 10 Eastern in Anaheim. And then one night later, Wednesday night, 10 Eastern, the Panthers will visit Los Angeles. The Panthers will visit the Sharks out in San Jose, 10 Eastern on Saturday, a week from tonight. And then a week from tomorrow, they wrap up the trip with an 8 Eastern matchup in Vegas against the Golden Knights Stanley Cup final rematch from a couple of years ago. And then the Panthers' next home game after this game tonight will be on the 29th, Wednesday the 29th, when the Los Angeles Kings come to town. And for all your Panthers tickets, FloridaPanthers.com, SeatGeek.com, 954-835-PUCK to get your tickets. Well, we turn it back a few days Going back to earlier in the week, because we're going to take you through the week that was, the Panthers were looking to rebound from a loss Monday night in Philadelphia when they went to take on the high-flying New Jersey Devils on